Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and nothing like a little bit of a rocky start there, guys. Sorry about that, but luckily we have a Josh for that, and he got us up and running and made the magic happen behind the scenes. So a little bit of a scrambled start to the show here tonight, but the show is on, and we are ready to rock and roll, and hopefully you are too. Hopefully you're excited for another great episode of our Sunday night live stream show. That's right, it's Sunday night, y'all, and it's time for that live stream show. We're about to give away $1,500 in free stuff. We're about to answer your questions live. We're about to talk about what's biting now, what's coming up, the weather, and much, much more. So hopefully you're excited for a great show. Hopefully you're ready for a good time, and we're looking forward to hanging out and spending an hour together talking fishing. Inshore, nearshore, and off, whatever you guys want to talk about. Remember, if you have a question you want answered live during the show, the phone number's right at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead and text us your question, and we'll answer it live during the show. If you want a chance to win over $1,500 in free stuff, you want to know how, you want to learn how, all you have to do is comment. Make sure you comment. Let us know where you're watching from. Make sure you like the stream for us. Share it for us as well. That's super helpful. So like, share, comment, but really all you have to do is comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. So comment once on Facebook. You can watch on TikTok. You can watch on Instagram. You can watch on YouTube. You can watch on Trovo, on Twitch. We stream to multiple different platforms, tons of different pages. So lots of areas you can watch the show, but you do have to comment at least one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. Then, if you're picked as one of those lucky winners, you got 5 minutes or less to claim your free trip by texting us your full home address to the phone number on the screen, because you have to watch the whole show live. You have to actually watch live and then prove you're watching live by texting us within 5 minutes to claim your free trip. So watch the show, comment once, and then claim it by texting the phone number on the screen. If you're picked as one of the lucky winners, we're going to give away a 5-hour half day for 2, a 10-hour all day for 2, a Hubbard's Marina swag pack, and a 39-hour fishing trip for 1. Over $1,500 in free stuff during this hour-long show. We always start it out by showing you photos of what we've been catching, then we talk about the weather, then we get into your questions. We might even have some callers join us on the phone as well. So definitely a good time and a great show. So hopefully you're enjoying it. You can also catch this show as a podcast and past shows as a podcast on our Hubbard's Marina podcast channel on Spotify, on iTunes, on the iHeartMedia app. So if you're driving around, you want to listen to us talking fishing, check out those podcast episodes on our podcast channels too. Then, also want to give a shout out to our friends over there at Gator Jim's Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't stopped over and seen our friends at Gator Jim's, make sure you do so. They're running some crazy, crazy deals right now you don't want to miss out on. They're always doing some crazy deals, but they've got extra special crazy deals going on right now you don't want to miss out on. So stop in, say hello to our friends over there at Gator Jim's Tackle, and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. Want to also give a shout out to our friends sending stars out there. We had Ashley Pettit, and we had James D. McCullum with the big 500 stars. D. Beers, appreciate you. Stephen Batchelor, Jim Evans. We also had Stephen Batchelor again, LaShonda Brown, Jasmine Marie, Richard Blasak, Stan Meeky, and a big 500 from Larry White. Terry Feather, what's going on? Appreciate all your support, y'all. Sending stars. If you're watching on YouTube, Trovo, Twitch, TikTok, the stars are just a way for those watching on Facebook to show their support, and it's a huge help. Helps us kind of fuel the show, just like the diamonds are on TikTok. So we appreciate all the diamond senders on TikTok too. Adam Franklin, what's up, my friend? Thanks for the 1,000 stars, buddy. I appreciate you. Let's get into those photos and show you guys what we've been catching near shore fishing right now. Seeing some of these big old black drum. Our friend Mark over at Salt Strong putting a hurtin' on some black drum, but his wife Ashley catches bigger black drum. It's a fact, and we will prove it if I can make my clicker work. There it is. So another nice big old black drum. Definitely seeing a lot of those big black drum around Bay Area bridges. They kind of persist through the summer. Not a lot of people targeting them right now, but they are definitely catching them if you went out and target them at some of those big area bridges. Terra Verde is the closest one to Johns Pass that I like targeting them at. You can find them at the Blinds Pass Bridge sometimes, but Gandy Bridge, the Dick Meisner Bridge, not the Howard Franklin right now. They're doing construction. Probably the Gandy Bridge would probably be your best bet. Maybe even the Skyway. We're seeing a lot of snook around Johns Pass. Holy moly, a ton of snook lately. But we're also seeing a lot of snook in the Back Bay, out on the beaches. A good time to get some good snook action. Our friend Captain Chris Wiggins sent this one in. This was a 40-inch snook. Captain Chris Wiggins put that, excuse me, that happy young angler on a snook of a lifetime for sure. Beach snook fishing has been going really, really well. And as you can see, some big girls being caught. Our friend Scott Sadorf always sending in some fat snook photos. Bel Air Bait and Tackle, Dogfish Tackles, where you can find Scott hanging out on most mornings, getting geared up for his snook fishing adventures on the beach. Definitely some big fish around. Our friend Dylan doing really well, catching a ton of fish. You can actually follow him live on TikTok as well. We got to remember to put his TikTok username on his photos. That'd be cool. And then our friend Luke Simons, just like Diamonds, over there at Salt Strong, catching some big old snook on the Power Prawn. Some beautiful snook from Don at Salt Strong. Dylan again out on the beaches. Our friend John and Johns Pass, catching some nice snook too. Some really good snook in Tampa Bay. Some trout action around the bay from our Salt Strong members. Dylan with a big fat trout locally around Johns Pass. Some really good fish. There's Michael's son with a nice big old trout as well. So a lot of trout action. We're seeing them at night around dock lights, bridge lights. We're seeing them during the day on those deeper flats, those potholes, those cuts, those edges. Snook really most active at night around the bridge lights, dock lights. We're seeing a few nice snook out on the beach during the day, hanging up underneath the dock. We had a guy down at the pass today, big-time bass fisherman, watched some of our live videos, saw how many snook were out there, and he came out all the way from, I believe he said Lakeland, drove out and fished around the dock today and caught his first ever snook, and he was hooked. Now he's a saltwater fisherman. We ruined somebody today on fishing, which was cool. He was hyped. Some near shore action. We're going to move a little bit deeper now. Catching a few cobia near shore. This is our good friend Luke Simons catching a cobia, bouncing a artificial shrimp along the bottom at some near shore artificial reefs, which is really cool to see. We're catching some of those blackfin tuna out deep on the 39, 44-hour, 12-hour extreme. You got a chance for them. Fat red grouper fishing going real well for us on the 12-hour extreme, 39-hour, 44-hour, getting deep. David Deal with a big fat red grouper there. Some nice action on the 12-hour extreme. They've been crushing the red snapper, catching quite a few red grouper. Our good friend Don VC right there showing how it's done on the slow pitch gear. Catching some nice red grouper. Don was getting jiggy with it on the extreme, crushing the red groupers and red snapper. Big fat red grouper on the extreme trip. Captain Seabass and Mike putting a hurting on them out there. Another blackfin tuna. We got some kingfish action occasionally. And, of course, lots of red snapper. This was a viewer-submitted photo for our Fox 13 report. Back to the Flying Hub 2. Another viewer photo from our Fox 13 report. Definitely some fatties. Oh, big news. We've got a new biggest red snapper of the season. Unfortunately, don't have a photo of it. Super ironic. Captain Brian's 39-hour trip that just got back in this morning brought home a 26-pound, 5-ounce red snapper. John Martin caught it on that 39-hour adventure and a 26-pound 5-ounce. We got some video of it, but no photos, so maybe we'll be able to grab a screenshot from it. But nice one. Plus, they got a what I was told was a 19-pound hogfish, or it might have been a little, I don't know. I heard 19, then I heard 9. It was a big hogfish. I think it was more like at least double digits, but maybe only 10. I forget. But it was a big hogfish. Came in this morning too. So lots of good fishing out deep right now. Definitely capitalizing and focused on those red snapper and those red grouper and those mangroves and those yellowtails and those muttons, vermilions, almacos, porgies, a few of those tuna, kingfish, maybe even a wahoo. You never know. So lots of good options out there offshore. Near shore, really focused on lanes, mangroves, a couple red grouper. We're seeing a hogfish here and there, but not a ton. So pretty cool action all the way around. Let's see here. Don Shuett, appreciate those stars, my man. Ryan Kelly. Michelle Holler with 500. Appreciate you, Michelle. Robert Donnelly and Ashley Pettit again. Appreciate you guys. I learned how to say Ashley's name. She came out to Final Friday and hung out and let me know I've been mispronouncing her name for a year and a half. So I appreciate her and her family joining us at Final Friday, and I promise I won't mess it up again. So thank you, Ashley, for the stars. All right, so we talked about Gator Gyms, our Star Senders, supporters group. Make sure you check out Becoming a Supporter today. You get some behind-the-scenes info. You get access to our private supporters group, and it's a great way to just talk more. And the memes have been pretty good lately. Some good fishing memes going around in there. And just a good time, a little bit more connectivity, a little bit more behind-the-scenes stuff. So check it out. It's only $4.99 a month, and you get some added value, some added benefits there. We talked about the photos. Now it's time to get into some weather and show you guys what's going on weather-wise. So who's ready to talk about weather? Let's see here. We're getting over to the Hubbard's Marina website page and going to click Fishing Trips, scroll down to Weather Links. And then on the Weather Links page, let's start with the 5 and 10 hour forecast area. It is looking good most of the week, but it keeps creeping up for the first half of the work week. And this morning, it wasn't looking that way, and it just has gotten more and more rough forecasted for tomorrow. It's not bad for the half-day trips. It'll actually be somewhat welcome for those of us fishing, and actually most people on land along the coast will be happy to hear that we're going to have a little bit of a breeze and a little bit of overcast conditions, so it'll be a little cooler tomorrow. Only a high of 84 along the coast, which is significantly lower than it's been, so it's going to be a little cooler tomorrow, but it's going to be breezy, around 15-mile-an-hour winds. And some pretty heavy afternoon, like second half of the day. We're going to see a lot of those scattered showers like we saw, not today, but yesterday, Saturday, really kind of scattered, pretty heavy showers throughout the day, starting around noon. And that's what it looks like tomorrow. Moving a little deeper, our West Florida Central buoys see the same forecast. Absolutely spectacularly gorgeous. Wednesday and beyond. Tomorrow, gonna be a little breezy, gonna be a little rainy in the afternoon, not even the afternoon. Second half of the day tomorrow, gonna be a little rainy. Then Tuesday, it starts to calm down. Not too bad Tuesday, but a little bumpy. And then Wednesday and beyond looks gorgeous. So really, Wednesday and beyond is beautiful. Monday is moderately bumpy to mildly rough. Tuesday, it's definitely a little bumpy and calming down. And working our way offshore, definitely looking more windy as we get deeper and deeper. And unfortunately, had to cancel tomorrow's extreme trip where we've been fishing pretty heavily out there in the offshore waters. We are seeing some pretty darn heavy forecast. So the 39-hour Captain Will is running right now. They're seeing some heavy winds 20 to 25, some variable winds, some high seas, 4.5 foot. So definitely a little bit more bumpy conditions than anticipated. But it is calming down nicely, and it is going to look good Wednesday and beyond. So we're excited about that. Now, our friend Capt Mike is on the phone, so let's pop over to him and chat a little bit inshore fishing, and then we'll work our way back near shore and offshore and get to your questions. So what's going on, Capt Mike?
How's my brother? You good?
I'm doing good, man. How about you? Good to hear
We're
from
good.
you.
We're good, man. We're good. Yeah.
How's your week at the beach, dog?
The 4th of July Beach Fest was phenomenal.
Nice.
Probably the only thing I would do different is I don't know that my body was ready to do a week at the beach and then go to Luke Combs last night. That was a little rough, but a phenomenal concert. We had a good time. It was hot, but that guy puts on a great show. So we had a really, really nice week.
It was hot.
Really
I saw
hot.
a photo of you, dude. Your better half and your daughters, of course, look great. You wore jeans and boots, dog. So, of course, you were hot.
Yeah.
I saw the photo, and I was like, man, he must have been dying.
I was dying. Me and a bunch of other dumb cowboys at that thing sweating.
I saw the old square toes and dark blue jeans. I was like, oh, man. And you showed up about midday, I could tell. I felt bad for you.
We had a little breeze. It actually wasn't that bad. We had seats on the floor at Raymond James, and I was dreading it all day. But somehow, some way, when we got down on the floor of that stadium, there was a breeze.
Nice.
And it made it not. I mean, it wasn't terrible. So, and I'll tell you, if you've never been to see Luke Combs, and he ever comes again, you should go if you're a fan, because he really put on a great show. He sounded exactly the way he sounds on the radio.
That's
Very
cool.
Personable guy. 26 songs straight through.
Wow, that's impressive.
In that heat. It was really impressive. So, But now I had a little vacation. We got ICAST this week coming up.
Heck yeah.
And then I'm ready to get back on the water. Yeah, things are jumping on the water. It was interesting because in my group that goes to the beach, we have several guys who get up really early every morning. And I kept telling them, I'm like, dude, we're on the backside of the full moon, that you need to fish that evening outgoing tide.
Yeah.
And every night we walk out to watch the sunset. And every night there was guys out there catching snook right off the beach. I kept looking at my guys going, I told you, y'all are getting up at 5 a.m. to go fish that morning bite when you should be fishing this evening bite.
Yeah.
So, now some of that this week sometime will flip-flop. As the tide seemed to get a little better as we get deeper into the week and we get closer to next, I guess, a week from tomorrow will be the new moon.
Very close. I believe it was Monday, so a week from today.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. So, I mean, it's going to flip flop. I got good reports. A guy who used to mate for me, Jake Crowley, and his family comes down for the 4th, comes out and sees us at the beach, and they do some backcountry fishing. They had some really good luck fishing the redfish in the trees already with shrimp and cut pinfish. So that bite's starting to get better. We got high tides towards the end of this week. So it looks like, if you can find shorelines that are covered with big mullet and you got, mangroves there, good moving water, I would start to soak some baits on those trees and find those redfish. And again, the snook fishing on the beach is good. Look like the tarpon fishing still pretty strong. So that should be good as we head into that new moon. So, lots of good stuff happening.
You were right. The new moon is a week from tomorrow. For some reason, I thought today was Monday. So it's a Monday a week from tomorrow. So you are right. The new moon is coming up. And it looks like fishing-wise, it should be pretty darn good through the second half of this work week once we're on the backside of this little weather disturbance. Midweek looks good. Weekend looks really, really good. So hopefully the fishing continues to cooperate. There's been a lot of snook around the pass. They're definitely starting to, kind of hit the peak, I would say, as far as numbers of fish that we see choked in the pass in the morning. So it's pretty cool to see. Looks like a really healthy population.
That's good to see. Like I said, we saw a bunch of fish on the beach, even when we were, down there just hanging out in the water. We were seeing fish run up and down the beach there on St. Pete Beach. So that's always a good sign. that mangrove snapper bite is starting to really fire off. A lot of good reports coming in from my guys that bite's good already, even up inside the bay. So, Brett Norris, looked like Captain Brett Norris had some good grouper bites this week too. So, not sure exactly where he did that damage, if he snuck offshore or if he was doing it in the bay, but it's been pretty good. So I'm optimistic. I'm ready. It's a little bit of a break, which is nice as long as I've been doing it. I was at the beach last week. This week coming up, I'm at ICAST, so it's a nice little stretch off the water for me. But just a week into this little stretch, and I'm already starting to itch to get out there and check some of my spots and see what's going on. So by the time we get through ICAST, which ends next Friday, got the new moon coming, I'll be anxious to get back in the water and do some damage.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a good time for sure. All right, man. Well, basically focus on those beach snook, those mangrove snappers. Still seeing a few tarpon. That's kind of the hot bite, huh?
Yeah, that and the redfish in the trees. Like I said, if you're on the higher tides, when those redfish can climb up inside the trees, put those baits in every little nook and crevice on the trees. Make sure you got moving water. Again, my boy Jake did really good with just shrimp on a jig head.
Yeah.
I like to use pinfish. I think cut pinfish this year is really a great bait for redfish in the trees. Ladyfish, they're always running with big mullet. If you're on shorelines where you're not seeing a lot of mullet activity, you're not going to find those redfish, and you need big mullet. I call them meat chickens, those big meat chicken mullet. If you find those, fish those shorelines up against the trees on that high incoming water, and you should do pretty well. And like I said, Jake caught him every day that he was here last week.
Nice.
So that's a good sign. He doesn't even fish here all the time anymore. He just went to some spots that him and I used to fish. So that's a good sign that bite's, starting to fire off early. So that should be good.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate it, keeping us up to date and filled in, man. I will see you bright and early. I will see you dark and early Wednesday morning.
Yeah, way too early as we try to fight our way across I-4 and live through another run at ICAST. I'm looking forward to seeing you, brother. I appreciate the time.
All right, man. You have a good one, Mike.
All right, brother. Be good.
See you, man. That's it. That's what we're looking for, hot bite-wise. Inshore, we're still seeing some of those snook, tarpon, and redfish in the trees. Mangrove snapper have been stupid around the pass right now. Virtually almost anybody can catch mangrove snapper until you're bored out on our dock right now. Just a little bit of chum, and a small piece of cut shrimp, light tackle. You're going to catch endless mangrove snapper. Most of them are pretty small, 8 to 10 inches, but you can get the occasional bigger one. And they're pretty fun. Especially on lighter tackle. So lots of mangrove snapper around right now. It is time to give away our first free trip. We're going to give away let's do our 10-hour all day first. So 10-hour all day for one lucky winner goes to the 10-hour all day. Todd Davis from Illinois. Congratulations. Had a good trip last week, and now you're ready for another one, my friend. 10-hour all day for 2 guests. We still got plenty more to give away. We got a 5-hour half day for 2. We've got our Hubbard's Marina swag pack and the 39-hour trip for 1. Also, don't forget as well, while Mike was on the phone, it reminded me August 1st, you want to join Capt Mike and the only Hall of Fame angler in Florida, Captain Lisa Fitzgerald. They are going to be together at Bartow Ford August 1st. I always try to make it over to those events, but it is very difficult. But Captain Mike was the one who was on the phone. Captain Mike Anderson, he's going to be out there. He is my partner over there at Real Animals on our Saturday morning Real Animals radio show every Saturday morning from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. You can join us on the radio. We stream it live to our Facebook pages as well. But he's going to be out there at Bartow Ford over there in Bartow with Captain Lisa Fitzgerald. There's going to be free food, free drinks, free prizes, really, really good time, 6 to 8 p.m. That is, again, August 1st at Bartow Ford over there in Bartow, Florida. Then, also don't forget, July 28th, we've got Final Friday. That's right. If you want a chance for free food, free drinks, and a good time, join us for Final Friday, July 28th. You don't want to miss out on that. All right. Now, We've talked about what we've been catching. We talked about the weather. It's time to get into those questions. So hopefully you guys have some questions for us as we pull up those questions. Don't forget as well to check out our 3-hour Shell Key shelling trip. That is a specialty trip that we've added. It's super cool, super unique, and it got you plenty of ways to go out there for the day, spend an hour on the island, exploring beautiful, pristine Shell Key. You got plenty of shells, and then it's an hour out, hour back. You get 2 hours on the boat. You get to see the intercoastal. You get to see our beautiful beaches, and you get an hour shelling on the beach. So it's perfect. If you just have a little bit of time out there on the beach, it actually works out pretty well with the heat lately. If you want to spend more time at the beach and get some more flexibility, you could check out our Shell Key Ferry or our Egmont Key Ferry. Great ways to spend more time at the island. Egmont Key Ferry offers 3 hours at the island, whereas the Shell Key Ferry is kind of 2, 4, 6 hours. So lots of opportunities to try different lengths of stay at the island between our 3-hour Shell Key Shell and our Shell Key Ferry and our Egmont Key Ferry. Plus, we've got the Dolphin Cruise, we've got the Sunset Cruise, we've got so much more as well. People forget we do other things besides fishing. I just want to remind you, there's a lot of different options as well. Then also, we've got plenty of availability coming up on our 12-hour Extreme and 39-hour trip for the second half of our red snapper season. There's quite a bit of availability, so definitely don't forget about that, because people seem to think we are sold out all the way through the season. And while that's true of, like, say, private charters, we've got room on our 12-hour Extreme. We've added quite a few 12-hour Extreme trips that have plenty of room on them. Plus, we have a lot of 39-hour trips and 44-hour trips left before red snapper season ends. For example, we have some Extreme trips coming up with 9, with 4, with 8, with 10 people on them. So super, super light loads coming up on the Extreme trip. The 39-hour trips, we have some coming up with 26 people on them, 35 people, 40 people. So lots of lighter loads coming up on the 39 hours. Some trips in August, 17, 10 people, 17 people. These are trips that you're able to keep red snapper on. So, and August, you've got amberjack, you've got triggerfish open too. So some good opportunities for plenty of fish and super light loads. So some pretty good opportunities to get out there on the water and take advantage of the ending, the slowdown of that red snapper season, when people forget the red snapper are still open all the way through end of day, August 24th. So lots of opportunities there. Scott Flynn, Ashley Pettit, appreciate those stars. Thank you guys very much. All right, first question of the night. Are strong or weak tides better for offshore grouper and snapper fishing? So the tides offshore are different from the tides inshore. So a lot of people can get confused looking at the tide charts for John's Pass and seeing this big outgoing tide or the Salooner Major or the best feeding time at 9 a.m. or 4 p.m. and people get all wrapped up around the tides. But you got to remember, as you head west into the Gulf of Mexico, those tides change significantly, and they change based on different hydrology. I'm going to say hydrology. Different topography as well. The way the Gulf is laid out and the way the Gulf spins and the way the loop current works, you can't really predict tidal times as well. You can predict moon rise and moon set, which does affect some moving water. And a full moon does generally mean a little bit more moving water, and a new moon, same thing, a little bit more moving water. So you can somewhat predict more moving water versus slower moving water, but you can't really say, all right, this tide is better than that tide for offshore grouper or snapper fishing, just because it's so different and you don't know if it's incoming, outgoing, whatever. But you do see tidal changes, you do see tidal shifts, you do see kind of slow moving water than faster moving water. So you see slack tides and tide shifts. tide changes, but it's not like we're offshore 100 miles out. We're like, oh, it's incoming tide now. In an hour, those fish are going to turn on. But we might say, hey, water slowed down, current's not moving as much, we must be in a slack tide. Once that tide starts shifting, our anchor heading shifts a little bit and the fish turn back on. So we definitely see that, and we definitely see the correlations. So yes, moving water is always better, whether you're fishing inshore, near shore, or offshore. It's always important to have some sort of tidal flow. Stagnant, non-moving water, generally the fish get a little bit more lethargic. They're not feeding as well. Inshore is the same as offshore in the fact that a lot of times fish are pretty opportunistic. They're pretty lazy. They kind of want the bait to come to them. And that's why it's so important to get your bait to the spot. If you get your boat on the spot and your baits are falling away from the spot, you're not going to catch as many fish. Whereas if you get your bait to the spot, you're going to have more chances to catch plenty more fish. So you want to make sure your bait is getting down to those fish. And let's say my computer is a big old rock pile and the tide is coming at me. So the tide is rushing towards my body. Those fish are going to be hanging out behind the keyboard in the lee of that current. They're waiting for the bait to come to them. So they're opportunistically hanging out in the lee of the current. Just like if this water bottle was a bridge piling and the tide's going this way, the fish are all going to be hanging out on the down tide side, waiting for that bait to come to them. And all they have to do is stick their face out in front of that bridge piling, and then they'll be able to eat very easily. The bait will be pushed to them. So fish are very opportunistic, so they like moving water for that reason. Next question, I have 80-pound braid with 80-pound fluorocarbon leader top shot. Do I need to add a leader on top of my top shot? Generally, yes, because you're going to add a 6 or 8 ounce egg sinker on top of that top shot, and then you're going to tie a swivel on. Then you need about 4 or 5 feet of leader and a hook. So you don't necessarily need different leader, but it definitely helps for sure. I'm going out on the 12-hour extreme this Tuesday, so not tomorrow, which unfortunately we had to cancel because of that weather. But Tuesday looks a little better. Hopefully we'll be able to get out there Tuesday. And there's 16 there's 16 people currently scheduled for Tuesday. But weather looks pretty nasty tomorrow, and it's building through the day. It's supposed to be calming down Tuesday. Inshore, near shore, offshore, it might not calm down quite fast enough, so we'll be keeping our eye on that, and hopefully we'll be able to get out there Tuesday. But if we can't, again, as I mentioned, we got lots of opportunities. Even Tuesday the 18th, we only got 7 people on that trip. So there's lots of opportunities to reschedule and still catch your red snapper and even red grouper. Is there a specific test line that you have to use inshore versus offshore? I mean, it depends on what you're targeting. If I'm fishing inshore around a bridge and the water's murky, I might be using 80-pound leader for snook or for tarpon. And if I'm fishing offshore in 100 foot, 200 foot for a grouper, I might be using 80-pound leaders. So sometimes you're going to use the same leaders. Hook sizes are going to be drastically different because bait sizes are different. So generally your hook size is dictated by what bait you're using. If you're using a pretty big shrimp, you're going to be using a 1, maybe 2-aught hook. If you're using a pinfish that's 3 or 4 inches long, you might be using a 2 or 3-aught hook. If you're using a pinfish that's 6 or 8 inches long, you're probably going to be using a 7-aught hook. So hook sizes change with the bait size. If you're fishing a bigger bait inshore even, you could use the same tackle inshore that you use as offshore if you're using a big bait for a big fish, like say a tarpon. So it depends ultimately on the fish you're targeting and what size bait you're using. It's going to kind of dictate your hook size, and then your leader size is going to be dictated by your surroundings. If I'm fishing for a 150-pound tarpon on the beach and the water's clear, I might be using as light as 30-pound or 40-pound or 50-pound leader. Whereas if I'm fishing for tarpon in the bay around a bridge, I'll probably be using 80-pound leader, maybe even 100-pound leader. So it definitely changes based on surrounding area as well. Did you say the Tuesday 12-hour extreme trip is canceled? Absolutely not. I did not say that in the slightest. I said there's a chance that it might get canceled. Weather is definitely looking a little adverse Monday, And then Tuesday, it's going to kind of calm down, but offshore always takes longer. It gets more rough offshore and takes a little longer offshore to calm down too. Plus, that 12-hour extreme trip is pretty weather sensitive. So if it gets up 3.5, 4 foot tomorrow afternoon, probably Tuesday is going to have to be canceled. But tomorrow, if it only gets up to 3.5 midday and it starts calming down real fast, by afternoon it's down to 2.8 foot, and it's calming down more, Tuesday's going to go. So we're going to keep a close eye on it. We'll let you know tomorrow afternoon, probably early in the afternoon, like 4, 5, 6 o'clock, we'll make the call on Tuesday's extreme trip. But there are lots of opportunities to reschedule for sure. Since gags and amberjacks are off season, what other fish will be available? Keep in mind, red grouper, scamp grouper, mutton snapper, yellowtail snapper, vermilions, porgies, almacos. Lots of species are open. Every species in the Gulf is open except for the ones you listed: gags, amberjack, and triggerfish. So there's 3 fish closed. Everything else is open. Lots of fish out there to catch. And the same thing was true in May, right? Everything was open in May except for gags, amberjack, and red snapper. So all year round, there's tons of fish to catch. People get really tied up in the seasons, but you got to remember, there's only 5 or 6 fish that have seasons. The rest of the fish are open all year round. There's a lot of fish to catch all year round. The seasons of the major 5 reef fish, red grouper, gag grouper, red snapper, amberjack, triggerfish, those are the main ones that have seasons, and people get really tied into that and almost refuse to fish outside of those seasons. But those seasons are spread out in such a way they don't really overlap, so you kind of got to pick one and then rely on all the other fish. Mangrove snapper, yellowtail snapper, mutton snapper, almacos, vermilions, porgies. We see a lot of other heads and tails too. Strawberry grouper, scamp grouper. There's a lot of other fish that are open year round for sure. What is a good mutton snapper rig? Here we don't really target the muttons any differently than you would a red snapper or a mangrove snapper. Fishing the same way, you're just going to catch mutton snappers kind of bycatch, right? So there's not a mutton snapper rig per se. We're just fishing them the same way. But generally, anywhere from around 40 to 60 pound leader and about a 6 to 7 aught hook. We are talking about red snapper and grouper fishing offshore. Yes, we are. What was the question? Was there a question there? No? Oh, no question there. Let's see here. I'm watching online on Facebook. I have a question. Why the day after the full moon, the daytime offshore fishing would be slow? Because on a full moon, the fish have been feeding 24 hours. If you have a full moon and you don't have cloud cover, you have nice weather, that means the fish have had daylight all day and then plenty of moonlight all night, and the full moon builds slowly. So virtually 36 to 72 hours, those fish have been feeding round the clock. So right on or a day or two behind a full moon, daytime fishing typically can be somewhat slow. And we saw that on this most recent full moon. Daytime fishing was definitely a little slow right around that full moon. We had one of our toughest 12-hour extreme trips. We had one of our tougher 39-hour trips right around that full moon, the backside of that full moon. And in my opinion, that was 100% to do with the full moon and the weather kind of capitalizing, coming together. Now, sometimes you get overcast conditions at the beginning of a full moon or on a full moon, and then the backside of the full moon's really, really good. So it's impossible to really know until you're out there and you figure it out and you learn and you say, hey, this is why. And you just learn over time, but it's impossible to plan. If you've got to take time off of work, you got to schedule it with your better half. You got to plan your time to go fishing. It's impossible to really pick a perfect day in advance. Unless you're retired or you have a lot of flexibility in your job, it's really hard to be like, all right, all the variables are coming together. It's going to be a perfect day. And really, there's not very many days. If you only fished when it's perfect opportunities to fish, you wouldn't fish at all because it's never perfect. Never do all the variables line up. The perfect moon phase, the perfect tide, the perfect chlorophyll, the perfect bathymetric pressure, the perfect barometric pressure, the perfect amount of surface current and surface sea surface temperatures, and all the variables that go into whether or not the fish are going to cooperate, they never line up. And even if they did, it doesn't mean that the fish are going to chew. They're still a wild animal. They still surprise us every day. So you just never know. And that's the beauty of fishing, right? Fishing lights up. What's interesting to me, I was reading a podcast, or listening to a podcast and reading a book about this, is the brain chemistry that's reactive towards fishing is the same as gambling. So you go gamble at the casino, it's literally the same part of the brain as going out in a fishing boat and going fishing. You don't know what you're going to catch. You can have a little bit of skill and practice and kind of help to know if you're going to have positive results or not. But ultimately, it's a little bit out of your control as far as whether or not they're going to fully cooperate with you. So it's kind of one of those funny things. But let's go ahead and give away something free and then get to some more questions here. I got off on a tangent, but definitely very interesting. So something free, we give away our 10-hour, right, Josh? So let's give away our Hubbard's Marina swag pack. The Hubbard's Marina swag pack lucky winner is Shelly Barnes. Congratulations, Shelly from Fort Lauderdale. Remember, you got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address and claim that free trip. So make sure you text us quickly and claim that free trip. All right. Let's see what other questions we might have. Did he cover the mutton snapper rig and leader length? Yes, I did cover the mutton snapper leader length. Oh, he's got multiple conversations open. Let's see. How long would you fish for on a 39-hour? So on a 39-hour, you get around 20 hours of fishing time. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. It's all in the name of catching you the most amount of fish. And it also depends on how far we go. Some 39 hours, it might be 18 hours of fishing. Sometimes it might be 22 hours of fishing. Sometimes it might be 15 hours of fishing. But generally, it's around 20 hours on average. The 12-hour extreme is about 70 to 100 miles out. About 7 hours of fishing time or so on average. About 2.5 hour ride out. About 2.5 hour ride back. You get about 7 hours of fishing time, generally. Let's see here. What other questions do we have? How far out does the 39-hour trip go? The 39-hour, the 44-hour, the 12-hour extreme, 70 to 100 miles on average. Anywhere in that range, 70 to 100 miles from Johns Pass. So it might be 50 miles out. It might be 100 miles out. It might be 80 miles out. You never know. We've run west, we run northwest, southwest, all over the Gulf of Mexico. We fish the middle grounds, we fish the elbow, we fish the surrounding areas too. What is my favorite trolling lure? I don't troll a ton. Personally, I focus on bottom fishing. But if I was going to troll, that Nomad DTX minnow seems to work really well. The Rapala X-Rat Magnum 30s. I like trolling a dredge where you have 2 or 3 teasers and then a hook in the back. Skirted plug works really well too. If you're offshore in 120 foot with no other boats around, sharks will not stop eating every fish you hook. Is it okay to shoot a few sharks to help thin the herd? That's Bobby Woodard, 100%. I know it is. Yeah, tarpon, fun to catch. He tricks me a few times, but I've caught him this time. In my opinion, no, I can't pull it off. I'm not Mike Mahoney. I can't pull off the jokes like he can. But it's a problem. It's a big problem. And I think the shark problem's only going to get worse. It's definitely been a challenge and a growing challenge at that. Yeah, the air conditioner is a problem. So our Fort DeSoto booth down at Fort DeSoto, we paid $13,000 to run electricity to it. That electricity got put in April. It's July. And the county sent a letter to Duke Energy, and Duke Energy will not open an account for us and let us pay them money to hook up our power so we can have our AC working at our Fort DeSoto booth at Shell Key. Josh and I are sitting in a studio right now in Seminole where we have our Hubbard's media office. The AC is broken here. It is like 98 degrees in this office. I am sweating like crazy. Our camera's not functioning right because I'm pretty sure it's too hot. And then at Hubbard's Marina's main office, our AC in our main office is not functioning well. It's about 89 degrees by 4 o'clock in the afternoon in our main office. We're waiting on our ACs to be installed, hopefully this week there. On the Florida Fisherman, our AC, one of the 3 ACs on the boat, is struggling and should hopefully be replaced Thursday. It was supposed to be replaced last week, Thursday. The company is taking longer than expected, of course, so it is definitely a battle we are fighting across 4 of our locations to try to get the AC working. Been very, very frustrating to say the least. But the AC on the Florida should hopefully be fixed this week. Praying. Are you guys having issues with the sharks? Yes. 100% we're having a lot of issues with sharks. But our trick is to just keep sticking and moving. And if we get sharked up real bad, try to make a little run and get away from them. Different depth, different area. Do our best to get away from them. And try not to fish a spot too long. If you fish a spot too long, a lot of times that's when you're going to run into more shark problems. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Does snook have a season again, or are they still off limits? Snook definitely has a season. They are open to be harvested, but it is not at the top of my list. My phone's live streaming on TikTok right now, so I don't have my phone in my hand. But Hubbard's Marina website has a helpful tool we can pop over to. Did I hit the right button? Is it working? Yes, I did. So under fishing trips, you can go down here to more info. You can hit fishing rules and regulations. We can scroll on down here to view on website, and we can change location to Pinellas County, and we can type in snook, all species, and it's going to tell us what the season is, because I didn't want to say it without being sure, and I did not know off the top of my head, to be honest. It's 28 to 33 is the slot size, and the season is, there was a season? So it is closed until, it opens September 1st. So it's open September, October, and November around our area. So September 1st is when snook season opens, to answer that question. So it's coming up, September 1st. So not too far away, snook will open back up. All right, let's see what other questions do we have here. Good evening. What is happening with the push to lower the boating speed in the Gulf of Mexico? Oh. Well, we don't have enough time left in the podcast. Let's go ahead and answer our last question of the night, and I will give a very brief dissertation on the rice whales. It's actually on my list of things to do tomorrow. Probably going to pop a live video tomorrow where we're going to talk all about the whales, because potentially I've been asked to be a guest on Fox News. Potentially. I'm waiting for that to be finalized and be super, super excited if that happens. My first national news segment, but potentially going to be talking about that on national news on the Fox News network. Which will be pretty cool opportunity, and big for our company, and a little nervous for me. That might happen tomorrow or Tuesday night, potentially. We'll keep you up to date with that, but I will also do a little practice session on our Hubbard's Marina Facebook page, and I want to pop a live video about the rice whale situation, and I want to talk about what was else was on my list. There was another, cheapest parking in Johns Pass. A lot of people complain. We get a lot of bad reviews on the Johns Pass Google page about the parking. I feel like a lot of people don't realize you can get $7 all-day parking in John's Pass if you're on a trip with us at Hubbard's Marina. So we're going to spread the word on that and probably make that more of a recorded video that we produce and make a little fancy for our website, maybe a blog post, Josh. But the Rice's Whale thing, we're going to rip that one alive because I don't like post-production and scripts. Josh always tries to write me a script and make it all fancy and make me sound pretty. I like being live. Nice and fast. Off the hip. All right, so time for a swag pack, right, Josh? Oh, time for a 5-hour half day. Thank you, buddy. So, 5-hour half day fishing trip. Lucky winner is... Sorry, hit the button early. 5-hour half day. Lucky winner is Chris Doodley Crow from Ohio. Congratulations, Chris. You got 5 minutes or less to claim that free trip. 5 minutes or less. Text us your full home address. So, whales. Charismatic megafauna. You want to talk a little bit about Rice's whales, do you? I'm not going to pull up my notes because they're 8 pages long. Wouldn't you know, Josh? Wouldn't you know? 8 pages of notes. Basically, what's going on with the Rice's whales is some environmental groups came together, some bunny huggers came together, as Capt. Mike Anderson would say. Healthy Golf, Center for Biological Diversity, New England Aquarium, ironically. James McCullum, appreciate the stars, my brother. Kyle Hopwood, Ashley Pettit, Rich and Dana Fletcher, Scott Flynn, appreciate the stars, y'all. So as I was saying, a bunch of bunny huggers got together, filed a petition with NOAA and the Biden administration to establish a vessel slowdown zone in the Gulf of Mexico. And what this vessel slowdown zone would do is make a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit for every vessel in the core distribution area, or CDA, for Rice's whales. And this CDA, or core distribution area for Rice's whales, was completely made up by some petitioners who used Soldevilla et al., this research project that tagged one whale for 3 days. So based on the extensive data and large temporal and spatial data set of one whale for 72 hours, they decided to shut down an entire swath of the Gulf of Mexico from Pensacola to south of Tampa Bay from 100 to 400 meters, which is 320 to 1,300 foot. And it's crazy. It's crazy the area that they've petitioned to make this vessel slowdown zone. And this would be a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit. This would mean any vessel going out there would have to go 10 miles an hour through this huge area. And then also, you couldn't transit that area at night. So basically make fishing an overnight trip in deep water. A lot of areas that we fish deep water on our overnighter would be closed. It would be impossible to get out there. You'd have to go slow, which the Florida already is pretty slow, but we'd have to slow down even more, and we couldn't go out there at night, which is pretty stupid. And then also, it totally ignores all of the science. The NOAA hasn't even designated a core habitat area for this animal. This animal was just designated 2 years ago. 3 years ago, this animal didn't have a name. It was considered a Gulf of Mexico subspecies of the Brutus whale. Now it's called the Rice's whale as of 2 years ago. 2019, they filed this petition. And in 2021, they found out that there's actually Rice's whales sounds being recorded in 5 locations in the Gulf of Mexico. And guess what? 3 of those 5 locations are in the Western Gulf. And this vessel's slowdown area has only been petitioned in the Eastern Gulf. So not only is the area wrong, the distribution's wrong, and they don't know what this animal eats. They've done one study on its prey or preferred prey items, and it's so limited due to the poor budget and limited scope of that data collection that they really don't have a good idea of what the prey items are. They don't know where this animal lives. And the most glaringly annoying, stupid part of this thing is NOAA's own technical information says that there has to be more than 100 individuals in the population to prevent inbreeding for the next 5 generations. If the population is so small, less than 100 individuals, they'll have to inbreed in the next 5 generations, and that means offspring won't be viable. So if there's not enough individuals in the population to prevent inbreeding, the population might already be so small and might have already passed a critical point to where even if they close the Gulf of Mexico completely to boats and totally put in the most stringent, draconian regulations possible, this population might never recover. We don't want to see the whales collapse. We don't want to see the population go extinct. It's an endangered species that was listed just in the last 3 years. We want to see them recover. But according to the ESA, the Endangered Species Act, an animal that's listed under the ESA has to go through these different workshops, and they have to basically evaluate the threats to this population. The biggest threat to the population that's not addressed in this vessel slowdown is oil and gas exploration. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill lowered the population of this animal by 22%. 22% of the population was killed in one event. Between 2011 and 2013, there was 46 oil spills in the Gulf of Mexico. More than 48% of this animal's distribution area, or believed distribution area, was covered in crude oil in 2011 to 2013. And they're trying to say that vessels are the problem that could potentially kill this animal off. It's ridiculous. It's laughable. It's heinous. And on top of that, there's only been one confirmed vessel strike on this animal in the history of all vessels in the Gulf of Mexico. And that was a big ship. And these petitioners, these bunny huggers, are asserting that a recreational vessel could hit one of these whales and not know it, which is so stupid because the only known recreational vessel to strike a whale didn't happen in the Gulf, and it wasn't a Rice's whale. It was a right whale calf. So it was a baby whale. It happened off of northeast Florida in the Atlantic, and it was a right whale, a calf at that. It was a 54-foot sport fish, a Viking. 54-foot Viking, which is a big boat, basically the size of the Friendly Fisherman. And it hit this whale at night, and it sank the boat. Really seriously injured the passengers and sank the boat. So for these petitioners, these environmental groups, to try to say that one of our vessels could hit one of these whales and just not even know that it happened and kill the whale, and that we're such a big threat to this population that we shouldn't be allowed to go through this area at night because we might hit one of these whales, they're stupid. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and it shouldn't even be considered by the Biden administration, by NOAA Fisheries, and it should be thrown out. So I told you it would be short. That was as short as I can get it. I'm going to have to get it shorter for the news. But that was a very short overview of what's going on with the Rice's whales. And catch the Facebook Live. We'll boil it down some more, probably tomorrow sometime. A little too hot in here, to be honest, to really get ranting. Because if I'm going to let my rant out, it's gonna get real hot. All right, so last thing we got to do is give away a free 39-hour trip for one of you guys watching. But also want to make sure you guys remember Final Friday is coming up June 28th. Don't miss out. We hope to see you 6 to 9 p.m. We're going to give away free food, free drinks. It's going to be a great time. So hopefully we'll see you out there for that. James McCullum, appreciate those stars. Tim McCardle, we had a lot of stars senders tonight. Appreciate all of you. Appreciate all our supporters who make this possible as well. If you're not in our supporters group, check it out. It's only $4.99 a month. It's a great time, a little behind the scenes info, a little bit more connectivity, a little bit more community with your fellow Hubbard's Marina enthusiasts. So check it out. Only $4.99 a month. You can join right at the top of our Facebook page. We hope to see you in there. Also, we hope to see you out for our 3-hour Shell Key Shellin' trip. Don't miss out. Going to be a blast. It's 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day. If you're in our supporters group, make sure you check out the deal that we're offering on that. We'll talk more about it in our supporters after show as well. So check it out, and hopefully we'll see you guys out on the water, because don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. We hope you'll come out and find out why we were voted the #1 fishing charter in the entire nation. And don't forget as well, if you're too busy to go fishing, you can just come buy your own fresh fish at Don's Dock, our new seafood market. We're working on a catchphrase for that, so if you guys could help me out here, that'd be awesome. Also, don't forget to tell your friends about the show every Sunday night right here, 7:30 p.m. You can catch the podcast on our podcast channel, Spotify, iHeartMedia, iTunes. Just look up Hubbard's Marina. Make sure you give us a follow. Make sure you give us a thumbs up, a rating, and tell your friends about that. Hopefully, we'll see you and a friend next week for our live stream show. Bring a new friend for us every week. Help us spread the good word of the Hubbard's Marina live stream show. Also, don't forget to check out all our social media. We're really working hard to grow our TikTok. Our YouTube just hit 10,000 followers. We're over 153,000 on Facebook now. We're over 28,000 on Instagram. So we need your help to keep growing. Tell your friends, share the pages, make sure you like, comment, and share anything you see with post. And hopefully, we'll see you out here on the water sometime soon. Let's find out who won that free 39-hour trip. Supporters after show will kick off at 8:50. So let's see who won the 39-hour trip for one lucky winner. Winner is Sherry Miller. Congratulations, Sherry, on that lucky win. She loves to fish, and you're going on a 39-hour adventure. You got 5 minutes or less to claim that free trip, Sherry. Hopefully, we'll see all of you next week. Don't forget to tell your friends. Don't forget to get out there on the water. And if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you being part of our Hubbard's Marina family.